Good evening. My name is Heike Dempster. I'm the Associate Director of Public Relations and Outreach at YoungArts. My pronouns are she, her. The YoungArts campus is situated on the traditional homeland of Native nations, including the Tequesta, the Calusa, the Taino, and today the Miccosukee and the Seminole. We pay our respects to the elders past, present, and future, and recognize their continued existence and contributions to our community. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This is an info session dedicated specifically to classical voice within the YoungArts voice discipline. YoungArts identifies exceptional young artists, amplifies their potential, and invests in their lifelong creative freedom. And the experience really starts with the application and the competition. So we do encourage all artists aged 15 to 18 or grades 10 to 12 to apply. I have a few housekeeping notes quickly for you. This session, as you just heard, is being recorded to share it with people who couldn't make it this evening. So if you want to protect your privacy, you can change your name to first name only if you wish. You can ask questions anytime, raise your hand, drop it in the chat. We're going to have a lot of additional information material available in the chat as well. So feel free to use that anytime. And yeah, now it's my pleasure to welcome my wonderful colleague, Nidra Ward, Associate Director of Winner Programs at YoungArts. We also have national panelist Jason Ferrante and 2019 winner in voice, Sam Dhobhany. For 2 decades, tenor Jason Ferrante has appeared on opera and concert stages of the world and has been a leading voice teacher of professional opera singers. In addition to being the national panelist for classical voice at YoungArts, he is a voice teacher to many professional training programs at opera companies, including Wolf Trap, Minnesota, Portland, Nashville, and Pensacola. He's a judge for the Metropolitan Opera competition and also is personal voice coach to legendary soprano Sarah Brightman. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, Sam Dhobhany is a third-year vocal performance major at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. Sam is a 2019 YoungArts Award winner in voice. This past season, he was part of Houston Grand Opera's Young Artist Vocal Academy and Wolf Trap Opera Studio and participated in their summer season, including a cover for Dr. Grenville in La Traviata at the Filin Center. This season, he'll be singing the roles of Aeneas and Simone in CCM's undergraduate double bill production of Dido and Aeneas, Gianni Schicchi in February. He will also be the featured baritone soloist this May in Beethoven's Ninth under the baton of Marius Smoley at the Angel Hall in Lafayette, Louisiana. So there you have a little bit of information about our panelists, and I pass it off to Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Heike. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you. It's that time of year again where we are jumping right into getting your applications and getting really excited to be back together after a pivoted couple years where we made things happen virtually. And this year's group is going to be getting a bigger hug than normal. We can't wait to see you all, and I cannot wait to see your application videos. I'm sure many of you will be applying, and that's why you're here tonight. This is my 8th year as a national panelist, and I'm just now starting to get the hang of it. It's so interesting to see how singers have changed in the past decade and how much has stayed the same. You are a braver group. You cut to the chase quicker than singers a decade ago, and I'm so here for that. And I want to lead this conversation tonight with a generalization of what I look for when I hear an application video. And then we're going to get into details and your questions and our notes on things. I generally push play on a first application video and close my eyes. And I like to see what a voice does to my ears in the first 5 seconds. Let that help you make repertoire choices. Does your repertoire show me who you are immediately? Because it's a different situation than coming out and doing a concert or a recital where you have, maybe 40 minutes to show us everything. You have a couple minutes to make a statement. So really ask yourself, are the pieces you have chosen, do they allow you to speak figuratively and vocally and dramatically as soon as possible. And I personally, and this may change when there's someone else in my seat. I personally am more impressed when a singer is not trying to impress me with difficult repertoire, but sing something that suits them and their heart and their voice, and they do it perfectly. That will always be more impressive. I know a lot of you must watch our videos on YouTube, and I direct you specifically to one of our winners from 2020, the soprano Madison Perry, who sang a very simple song, and she won our gold award that year. It was not a showy piece, but she sang it perfectly. And I want you to have confidence in your talent and in making those selections, and really trust that this person on that end of the process sees that and loves it and respects it. No pressure to impress. Okay, thank you.
Jason, do you want to go over the requirements a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
I like, sort of breaking down, demystifying the process. I'll be very honest with you. The requirements for classical voice are different than they used to be. I've had one of the benefits of having been around for a while now is that I've been able to see what works and what doesn't. And what does that even mean, what works? That suggests that you all sing exactly the same, correct? It's really about trying to find some common denominators. And I've gotten to a list of 4 requirements for your repertoire that I think work really well. The 4 requirements this year, and they have been, it hasn't changed for a little bit. 1 art song in English from any time period. That does not include musical theater or opera. An actual art song that was originally written for voice and piano in English. It can be an old 17th century English ballad, or it can be something written yesterday. 1 art song in a language other than English. French, German, Russian, Czech, you name it. A song or aria selection of your choice. That's the big open-ended one that gives you room to do that piece that you want to sing, but may not fit a specific requirement. That particular 3rd requirement was set specifically for you, so that you have room to show us what you've got. And the other is 1 art song or aria in Italian. And the part I'm proud of adding to the requirements is from any period. We all love our 24 Italian songbook. Some of you may not think one of those shows your strengths, so we changed it to from any period. So that includes songs by Bellini, by Puccini, by Verdi, by Donizetti, by Tosti. Because, we, like I said, we love the Schirmer anthology of Italian art songs and the Yellow Book. Not all of them are great audition pieces for every singer. And I wanted to expand your ability. I encourage you all in the Italian requirement to take a look at the art songs, meaning the songs written for voice and piano by our great opera composers. Verdi and Donizetti and Bellini and Puccini all wrote art songs that are absolutely exciting and gorgeous. And if you think about it, would afford you the opportunity to show us some of your operatic potential in the same way an aria that you would sing with piano. If they're the same sort of writing, but without the stigma of saying, oh boy, I'm 17, I'm going to sing Casta Diva, right? Really check out the songs by the great Italian composers. At the same time, if you sing Caro mio ben perfectly, I really want to hear that. When it comes to the requirements, keep in mind, if you are fortunate enough to advance to being invited as a national finalist, so really think about your selections, keeping in mind that I will choose one of them to be what represents you on YouTube in front of the world. And let that influence your decisions. And I will say that our most successful participants in the past decade, when it comes to the presentation at the New World Center in Miami, have chosen some repertoire that's of a performance level and not just meeting a requirement. So keep that in mind. And the piece of advice I give on the repertoire selection in general is ask yourself, if I put all 4 of those in a hat and only picked one out, would you be okay with whatever one came out representing you in the audition? if it's a piece that you're like, that's not enough on its own, maybe it's not the best choice for this particular application. So make sure that each piece on its own shows me a little bit of who you are vocally, dramatically, artistically. That's really important to me.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk a little bit about application and then slightly into adjudication process, which Jason is also very much a part of. So the application is currently open. It closes on October 14th, Friday, October 14th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, and that's 8:59 p.m. Pacific. Once you apply, the application closes and immediately we start with the adjudication process. So the adjudication process runs for about a month. There are different levels of the process. And Jason is in the final round, which is the panelist round, where they come to Miami actually and adjudicate in person. In person in November. And then winners are announced at the beginning of December. And Jason did mention the finalist, which is the top level, who gets invited to participate in National Young Arts Week, which is being held in January in Miami, Florida. There is also honorable mentions and merits. And again, Jason mentioned something very useful, and that is that there is a cap for the finalists who are invited to participate in Young Arts Week. So for voice, for all the categories of voice, the total is usually around 20. And as Jason mentioned, for classical specifically, there's about 6 to 8, I think you said, Jason. Yeah. So keep in mind of that. And also honorable mentions and merits are actually unlimited. So the panel can award whoever is they feel should be receiving that award. But finalists do have that cap. And then National Young Arts Week, again, taking place in January. And that is where all 10 disciplines come to be further adjudicated and win those different levels of awards. As Jason mentioned, the top award being the gold award of $10,000. So you can win anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 from participating in that week. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sam so he can speak about his experience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Dhobhany. Yeah, man, going back to 2019, it's like, seems like different times. It definitely, Young Arts, it was one of those experiences in my life, I guess in my artistic endeavors that, kind of just like shaped me to be the musician artist that I am today. I mean, when I was 17 years old at that time, so, I was no way like an opera geek or whatever, but I was eager. And I think one thing to keep in mind is, when you get there, everyone, Jason, he's your mentor. Everyone is trying to do anything they can to help you to your best ability, and be eager to learn. That's how it was for me. It boosted up my artistic skills, my musicianship. It really helped me in the long run. And with those skills, I still use today. I mean, like I had never thought about, writing my own interpretation of a score. I mean, the master classes that you get, like Kareem Suleiman, it was really nice. I really I urge you guys to, when you are applying for these places, especially for Young Arts, one thing you want to keep in mind is just like bouncing off what Jason said, sing what's going to show you off in the best way, not just, vocally and just showing up, oh, I have a nice voice. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about singing, classical voice, it's an art and you're speaking to people. We're telling stories. And so that's one thing to bear in mind. And I mean, it was great. And you meet the great thing about it is, when you grow up, with a talent, right? You're kind of like a big fish in a small pond. And, getting to that point, I guess I can say I was kind of like that. But once you meet other people among you and you surround yourself with people on your level, it makes you that much more eager. And, and you want to be in an environment where you have hardworking people, because then that'll develop good habits. And that's what it kind of, I guess it, kind of changed my habits and my like process, and it really like takes you from that like young singer to like emerging professional sort of thing. And even at 17, 18 years old, like the stuff that you're learning at Young Arts, you're not going to find anywhere else. I'm telling you, that's how I felt. And I guess, yeah, in a nutshell, it was a kind of just blossomed my whole just like learning process for, singing and, just the work that comes into it. It's a lot of stuff behind those closed doors. So if you are there, just be ready for an intensive week, because I mean, of course, it's stuff that you love, but at the end of the day, we're getting the nitty gritty of things. And so it was really nice. Nothing but good things about Young Arts.
Hey, Sam, tell me a little bit about that week and the bonding with your year was eight finalists, 8 winners. What was that like as a group? How was that relationship, and what did you get from that experience?
You're like, with that group, I still like keep in touch nowadays. It's really like, it's the commonality of the love for the art form. And I think that's what really brings it together. And we had people from all over the country, I was in New York, multiple people from Texas. Like it's just that common ground, you know what I mean? And you keep those relationships for the long run, you know what I mean? And once like you reconnect, like I reconnected with, it was Callie, who was also, I don't know what level she was, but either way, at my Juilliard audition, I remember like, we ended up seeing each other, called lunch, and just revisited that time. Like it leaves such a powerful impact on everybody. And, it's a thing that we all remember. And I think, and also just like seeing other people perform too. Like when I would see, my colleagues I guess I can call them colleagues at the time, it was really eye-opening, because you see like the artistic choices that other people bring, and not necessarily that you want to take from that, but it's really nice to observe and to see things through a different lens. I mean, if you're like a soprano and you hear like someone else sing one of your arias, like it's pretty cool, because at the end of the day, you are seeing someone interpret something in a different way, but at the same time has something else to bring, and that could be admirable itself. And so I think witnessing each other's talents was a big thing for us, I would definitely say.
And that year, for everyone listening, the 2019 group, currently found at CCM, Oberlin, Juilliard, Eastman, I'm trying to remember, I think, and Manhattan School of Music, that particular group. Yeah. And one thing I can tell you, because it's not espionage, is that our young people who place well in Young Arts, you are noticed at our major conservatories and music schools at universities. It's a feather in your cap. And I want you to know that I want you to apply for us, giving it your all, as if it's the only thing you'll ever do, but in truth, it's not. And I don't want you to get too pressured there, but do know that I've had merit and honorable mention winners do very well right away. I've had people not get anything and do well right away. Remember, it's a reflection of one moment in time, and your job is to make that moment as strong as you can, and that moment's going to look different a year later. Sam hinted on this slightly. One thing I'm proud of is that we bring heavy hitters as guest master teachers in Young Arts Week. That I know it changes the competitors' lives, apparently, and they really enjoy it. But I'm telling you, and I mean this, every single one of my guests that has come in, whether we're talking about Jamie Barton or Corinne Winters or Sarah Brightman, have all been so moved by the experience that they love it just as much. And I sound like I'm running for office, but the the tone in the room during Young Arts is unlike anything. And I say this to our donors. There's an important donor on the board at Young Arts that I went to college with, Jay Frankie. And I said, Jay, this is the best week of the year for me. And I get to fly around the world singing and teaching. It is quite literally the best week of the year for me, because everything comes back to the reason why you do this. And it sounds really corny, you guys. It sounds like I'm running for office. I'm trying to make a powerful Instagram statement, but it is true. And I've done it enough years now to tell you it resets my gears every year, reminds me of what's important. And I want you to feel those things when you're applying. And you think about it when you're choosing your repertoire and talking to the person playing for you in the video, keeping in mind in our requirements this year, you still can use a piano accompaniment via recording. We still have that part of the possibilities. While it's obviously going to be stronger and more interesting if you have a live pianist, that is still an option. And I think we're all pretty accustomed to what it looks like now. I'm sorry if I'm jumping around from subject to subject a little bit, but stuff comes up. I've found the higher tech the mic recording is, the less interesting the recordings are. I think some of the best recordings are done with iPhones from the back of the room, where I can still see the artist and I hear the room and not just your voice. Because I think, remember, unamplified classical recording, voice recording, when captured, needs to hear the acoustic of the space and not just the distance between your mouth and a mic. And I can't speak for everyone, but you, as a singer, you know that when you hear a recording of yourself and the mic was so close that it's just like you're hearing your voice and no space around it. Those don't work as well as the recordings that capture the room. So a lot of singers have told me they've had really good success using multiple devices at the same time, and then after choosing which one got the better take. So some people used really expensive mics and cameras and then also had their iPhone set up to film it, and the iPhone was the one they sent because it homogenizes and captures the room. It's just important that we see you clearly and hear you clearly. We don't need props in the picture. We don't need extra plants or your I'd like to create a reel one day of auditions where people's pets have made appearances. It's really fun. Just needs to be simple. We need to see you. It's cool if we see the pianist. A lot of pianists don't like that. It doesn't matter as long as I can see your face. And it doesn't have to be close up, but please don't feel like making a huge investment in an audio quality is going to necessarily buy you a better impression than your iPhone, in case any of you are worried about that. Just a little thing there. Thanks, guys.
Sam, I was going to ask you to speak about your audition materials and how you submitted your application. I think you were going to say something there earlier. So
I was just going to say about the whole mic thing. Don't stress about getting like a super expensive mic. Personally, I feel like the iPhone catches the overtones, and that's just my opinion. Don't go and waste your money just yet. You know what I mean? Maybe down the road. I auditioned, I believe I had Non Piondrai. That was the first aria I ever learned. So yeah, I couldn't get like the Fs in the other favorite arias. So that was the starter. I sang, what was the other? Whither Must I Wander? Gial Sole dal Gange. And the last one. It had to be either like, this was back when I was calling myself a bass. I think I had Oasis there, maybe. I don't know. That was what I had. And I was using those same recordings for my college auditions because that was when I was a senior, and it was around that time when, you know, the pre-screens were needed for the college deadlines. But nonetheless, I chose those pieces, and I figured like these are the things that I want to sing because, you know, I feel like I was able to connect with it the most. You know what I mean? I had fun singing with it, and I didn't, once again, can't stress it enough, don't try to impress, you know what I mean? I mean, Mozart's your friend, you know what I mean? These art songs are going to be your friend, at least in this stage in your in your development. And so I stick to those, and yeah, I mean, it helped me, I guess, in the long run. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much I would say about my application process. I just chose what I knew best, what felt best, and liked to sing best.
Perfect. That was great. We are open for questions. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We do have one that came in. Do we submit a tall video or a wide one? Jason, I don't know if you want to go into specifics about that. Make sure what's on the screen, what should be on the screen.
As far as doing portrait or landscape, it doesn't really make a difference to me. Yeah, I don't have a preference on that. I really don't. I need to see you and hear you. And the reality is that some spaces look better vertical and some spaces look better horizontal. I'll trust you and your eye on that. You're not being evaluated on that at all. That's one of the least important parts for me. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Is it better to sing your most challenging pieces or ones that show potential?
That's great. We touched on that a little bit earlier. Potential is an interesting word because I can see potential in Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I can see potential in a difficult aria. I think the first step is to identify for yourself and your home teacher and your mentors, what is your potential? What are the strengths of your potential? And when you know those things, then match that up to a piece, right? Because not every piece will show your potential. In the end, for me personally, during my tenure, the aesthetic we go for is singing really excellently a piece in the 95% or higher, really great, is going to be better than 70% on a difficult aria, for sure. And this is a different discussion for a different coffee talk, but to define what entertainment is in classical voice world, that is so subjective. But I definitely ask myself, and I say this when I watch RuPaul's Drag Race, would I pay to see this person? That's important for me because this is a competition rooted in solo vocal performance. And I have to take that seriously. So really do ask yourself, are the pieces offering some sort of put yourself in the audience's seat. Will you get excited? Will you see the merit? Will you actually see the potential? Watch that this repertoire is not about checking off the requirements list, which is why I really have thought out those requirements with that in mind, to give you room to choose things that show me something that is pleasing and exciting and entertaining. Exciting to me is not always fast and upbeat and high notes. I get excited by good singing. In the end, a strongly sung, simpler piece is going to come off better than an okay sung, difficult piece, for whatever it's worth. I'd rather see you pick a set of weights that you can lift over your head than struggle to lift something that's too much.
Next one is, what are you looking for from a storytelling standpoint in a recording?
Clear language, using the colors of your instrument to convey meaning, physical confidence, where your voice is more athletic than you are. I think waving your arms and jumping up and down and doing cartwheels is cool, but may not always be the strong thing there. But there's something, it's just about like when you smell food that you think smells good, you just know it when you hear it, that there's a certain level of personal connection with the voice, some risk taking. I'm going to say something that's probably going to like confuse people, but I wouldn't be a real voice teacher if I didn't confuse somebody. I like when people are a little unmusical. And here's what I mean by that. I don't mean wrong rhythms and pitches, you guys. I mean leaning vocally into a word that I may not have thought to lean into, but is important to you. I like that. I think it's interesting and it's really cool. But that's a very hard question to answer. But I do look for clear words and clear language. And that doesn't mean be a diction machine gun. It just means be clear, make sure I can understand. And a lot of that goes to making sure you sing pieces that are written in a way and in keys that allow you to speak clearly. Sometimes key selection and certain pieces fall in a place in your voice where words are hard. That's a good reason not to sing it. That's the beauty of what we do, is that especially in a competition like this, the repertoire is voluntary. You get to choose what to sing. And when you get finished with these applications for young arts and colleges and et cetera, and you move forward to doing professional auditions, if you find yourself saying, oh, I hope they don't ask for this one, don't offer it. That's the best part about that. You get to choose whether or not it's on your list of things. And I've never understood why you would hope someone doesn't ask for something that you put there. So don't put something on there that you don't want to sing, for sure.
For sure. I will take the next one because it touches on presidential scholars. So I will explain that whole process. Young Arts is the sole nominating agency for presidential scholars in the arts. And to be a presidential scholar in the arts, you would need to be named a finalist and participate in National Young Arts Week. And from there, Presidential Scholars has their own requirements, which is that you must be a senior in high school and you must have a cumulative GPA of 3.25 or higher. And during Young Arts Week, you are, obviously you're meeting with your panelists, you're doing interviews, you're doing auditions throughout that week, and also participating in master classes. So all of that is being considered for presidential scholars. Now, all that's to be said, if you participate in National Young Arts Week as an underclassman, as a 10th grader or 11th grader, Young Arts will invite you back to reapply for consideration to presidential scholars in the arts during your senior year. So for example, just today, we sent out the application for presidential scholars consideration for all of the past finalists who participated in Young Arts Week, who were in 10th or 11th grade and are now currently seniors. So they are eligible to apply. And what happens there is you're basically, uploading updated materials because the panelists may have not seen you in a year or 2 years, and answering some essay questions to just give them an idea of where you are now. And from Young Arts Week, 60, and that's across all disciplines, so we have 10 disciplines, 60 are nominated to the Department of Education Commission for consideration. And from there, it's completely out of our hands. That is their program, that is their application, that is their determinations are made with them. And from that 60, they pick 20. And again, that's across all disciplines. There's no slots for certain categories or certain disciplines. Some years we could have 9 voice winners for presidential scholars and different disciplines and the rest. That's not really ever happened, but usually it's about a handful in each of the disciplines, depending on how many are nominated and how many further that process through the Department of Education. So I hope that answers your question and also gives you the full scope of what presidential scholars is. So the next one I have, from a judge's standpoint, would you rather hear a song the applicant loves or a song that showcases their voice more? I think you touched on this quite a lot, Jason.
The answer to that question is yes. Yeah, I mean, by nature, I would hope that one of the reasons you love a song is because it shows off your voice. I don't know if there's a real barometer for me to confirm that you love a song. I definitely have sung opera for 25 years, and there are pages in operatic scores that I don't love, but I have to do them because they're in the opera, right? I mean, in a dream world, I love that you only sang pieces that you loved. I can't imagine. For me, I wouldn't want you to offer YoungArts a piece that you don't love. And so I would take that one off your question and then get to the question of, does it show off your voice? And if you're offering a piece to YoungArts that you don't love, I would suggest not offering it. That's the beauty of the voluntary selection. There are hundreds of thousands of songs out there you could choose from. Choose the ones that you love. Let that be this is one of the few times where we've really tried to, through our requirements, unrestrict you as much as possible. Do know that requirements like we have exist to encourage you to pick the right things, but also to allow us to establish some through line of equality with all of the applicants. It allows us to so that if I have 400 applications, that there's at least a general core decision making so that you all sort of can be related to each other somehow. But show me 4 pieces that you love. Absolutely.
Great. How much emotion acting are you looking for in classical singing? Different competitions have different benchmarks for what they're looking for.
That's a good question. That's Aurna. Thank you so much. I don't know if I have like a specific amount of that. I would say a good starting point is an amount of emotion and physical commitment that does not keep you from making your best sound. And if you look at professional athletes, you've never seen a professional golfer putt a ball as hard as they can. The decision's made on what is the strength that you use to get it in the cup. And LeBron James throws a ball from the free throw line, and he doesn't throw it as hard and far as he can. That doesn't win the game. The game is that one that's so balanced and all net. That's the goal. And so you have to take your own barometer and say, is what I'm doing keeping me from singing my best? And do I have room to do more? To find that happy medium where one doesn't cancel out the other. One where if someone said to me, is that person a good actress or a good singer? And the answer should be yes. That's really what we're looking for. For whatever it's worth, and I hope that this is okay, I just wanted to say, put a smile on my face from Aurna, because one of our winners last year also had the same last name as you. Very cool.
Related?
Are you related to Shikta by any chance? She was one of our winners, who, by the way, that's great. Well, Shikta, just so you know, is one of our winners last year, who is about to begin her freshman year at Curtis. Very happy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the next question actually is kind of similar. So you may have possibly answered this, but how much do you care about body language, facial expressions, hand movement, etc.?
That's an interesting word. I would say it registers for me more when it's too much. I can deal with someone who is there, whose body is not locked doing the robot, but is not doing anything excessive. I accept that more than someone who's, showing the airplane where to land. And that's, again, if that's distracting me from your singing. I know, especially in modern times, we're all such complete artists who do so much, but we have the voice discipline at YoungArts. We call ourselves a 3-headed monster. The head of the jazz and pop division and the head of singer-songwriter, Chris Sampson and Latanya Hall, when I tell you we are family, we talk about this all the time, is that there comes a time when it's too much. And that's what I would just try to gauge that for yourself. And goodness, have a friend watch your rehearse or watch your videos. Have a friend that you trust that will be honest with you and you won't take it personally if they're critical. But it's whatever the version of proofreading is, have someone proof your audition and just take a look at it. Maybe they see some things that you didn't see. But you really have another person, a good friend that you trust, a sibling, a parent, maybe not a parent, a voice teacher, and you know, bounce it off people, ask around. Yeah.
Sam, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say in terms of like the moving and like, you know, wanting to show dramatic effect, as I would say, I mean, it's all good and all. Of course, you don't want to be all over the place. I think you could be just as effective grounded in, you know, in one spot, upright, you know, showing emotion in your face. But I think any gestures that if you're going to make dramatic effect, let it have motivation and let there be a purpose for it. And like because all these songs and arias have like a story arc. So if you're gonna, if you see something where it's like, this is what I really want to emphasize, then show that in your performance, show the process within it. And I think it'll seem so much more authentic and organic rather than saying, oh, okay, I'm gonna go and, you know, be emotional or whatever, and I'm gonna try to make the house cry. It won't sell. So I would say just really look over your pieces and, you know, try to find those emotional points. And I think you'll gain what you want to achieve.
Yeah, and take a look at Mr. Dhobhany from 2019.
Stop it.
Yeah, the video's in the chat.
And, you know, actually, it's so great that the videos from our concerts are available on YouTube. There, you can go watch a decade worth of all of our past winners and finalists. Go take a look, see what you like, see what you think worked. And yeah, and we get to spend some time talking about it before the presentation. We also try to stay out of the artist's way. It's important to me as a singer that I don't micromanage and dictate what you all do. I want you to show up with your point of view. And that includes sometimes doing something I might not do myself, but I have a lot of respect for because it's your choice. That's brave and courageous and gives us a chance to hear your authentic voice. And yeah, strong decisions, you guys. What else do we have?
So there is another one, wondering if you could apply to more than one discipline. So yes, absolutely. You can apply to as many disciplines and categories as you'd like. Please keep in mind there is a fee for each application that you apply to. So there is a $35 fee for applying. We also have fee waivers available to anyone who just pretty much cannot pay the fee. We used to have specific qualifiers for that, and ever since COVID, we opened it up, and all you have to do is upload a letter that says I can't pay the fee, and it's automatically waived. And for any application that you apply in that you are submitting a fee waiver letter, that applies to all the applications that you're applying in. So if you apply to all 10 disciplines and you have a fee waiver and you can't pay that $35 fee, it will be waived for all 10 of those applications.
Cool.
So we don't have any in the chat, any questions in the chat right now. So I'm going to take just a minute to talk about, we've talked a lot about Young Arts Week, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more about the other benefits that are available to not only the finalists, but the honorable mentions and merits. So first and foremost, there is a monetary award attached to every single level of winner. And that means that it's cash in your pocket. There are no restrictions. You don't have to use it for school. You can use it for whatever you want. Excuse me. So that is first and foremost. As I mentioned, finalists can win anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000. Honorable mentions are $250 and merits are $100. Everyone also receives a medallion, which is really super great. This really awesome medallion that's branded with our logo, and then it has your name and your discipline and category that you wanted. Sorry, excuse me, my voice is cracking here. And not only National Young Arts Week for the finalists, but we also have programming throughout the season for all levels of winners. And in addition to that, in addition to presidential scholars too, after your winning year, there is so much more available to you for the rest of your artistic career. So we have a platform called Young Arts Post, and that is pretty much like a Facebook, but it's exclusive to winners of Young Arts. So you can go on there and connect with fellow winners. You can see opportunities that Young Arts is giving. You can see opportunities that other partners and affiliates that we have are also giving to our award winners, and collaborate, network. There's so many opportunities on Young Arts Post. Not only that we give, but that others give. We've had winners who, didn't participate in a program together, but they went on Young Arts Post and said, hey, I'm, a filmmaker is looking for a musician, a filmmaker is looking for a dancer, and their entire cast and crew were all Young Arts winners. It's kind of fabulous that happens. Sorry. There are microgrants available. There are mentor-mentee programs available. And again, this is all past your winning year. So you get this great stuff during your winning year, and then it just keeps going and going and going and going. And our alumni on that portal are 20,000 strong. So there are just so many more benefits that continue on afterwards. I am so sorry.
Don't be. It's the voice panel. It's perfect.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. If you need to take a drink.
No, that's
okay, cool.
I'm done talking.
Yeah, and there are I have colleagues that I work with professionally on stage that come up to me and say, hey, I'm a Young Arts winner. That from as far back as the late 90s. One of my favorite stories to tell you guys is I've been doing this for a good while now with Young Arts, but when I was a high school senior, I applied. At the time, it was just called Arts, I believe, and I didn't get anything. And but then 3 months later, I went on to Juilliard. Keep that in mind, you guys. But it's one of my favorite things to tell people when I'm in Miami at work with Young Arts, is that I haven't let go of that grudge quite yet. I'm just kidding, totally kidding. It's been around a while, and Young Arts winners show up every place I work now. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, are there any other questions?
Yeah. There's no dumb question, you guys. Ask anything.
Yeah, very important. And if we end this call and you have questions that come to your brain after the fact, that's totally okay too. We have an email address that's dedicated specifically to answering application questions, and that is called apply@youngarts.org, which was also just dropped in the chat. And we also have this new feature on our website called Ask an Artist. And that feature is where you can submit a request to get connected to a past winner. Do you listen to all the repertoire we submit? So I'll go back to the adjudication process and just reiterate that there are different levels. So the first level is what we call reviewers. They go through literally every single application for each of their genres, and they do listen to every single thing that you are submitting. Yes, absolutely. I'll pass it off to Jason again because he does have a little technique about 5 seconds and closing his eyes, but I'll let him speak more to that.
Yeah. So as Nidra said, I have a preliminary panel of 3 great artists in our industry. That all 3 have been placed where they are as preliminary reviewers because of relationships we have, meaning I trust them, I know their tastes and their strengths and their abilities, and they know mine. And those 3 people listen through and they pass on. Basically, it's an elimination and a forwarding process. And then once it gets to beyond that round, it comes to me and I start working my way up to awarding merit, honorable mention, and choosing finalists. I personally listen to all 4 of your pieces. I choose the first one though. So that's always up to me. I see the list of the 4 and I choose the one that I want to hear. In a few cases, I'll be very honest with you, I've heard one piece and decided that that person's coming to Miami. And that's the benefit of choosing 4 strong pieces. But I do listen to all of them because you've taken the time to submit them, and I like listening to singers. And I spend a lot of time with the recordings. And singers who have made it to the finalist winners level that come to Miami for an entire week, I will have listened to their videos many, many times, because once I start getting down, I start listening to the whole route. If I get down to maybe 30 people, I start listening to all 30, and each time either not awarding or placing in merit or honorable mention. So by the time I get down to 11 people, I've listened to them over and over and over, so that those 8 people that are coming to Miami, I would have listened to their pieces a good dozen times. So one of the great things about Young Arts in the application process and in Young Arts Week is that we are not an 8-minute audition. I hear your applications over and over and over. Then for Young Arts Week, you're not being awarded based on the 2 pieces you sing that day, but on 6 days of work, which means our Young Arts finalists can afford to have a bad day. They can also afford to start out not strong and then grow. And I can see that awareness, and that's so powerful. But we're one of the few competitions that adjudicates people over the course of many days and over a larger sampling of their work. Because let's face facts, regular auditions aren't totally fair. They're only catching you at 1 second, and that's why I encourage you moving forward in this wonderful world of singing. Try not to be too bummed if you don't get something. It's just at that particular moment, and it doesn't always click. But Young Arts, I think we may be the only competition of this type that you compete for 6 days. It's really, really cool. And it doesn't feel like a competition when you're there. It really doesn't, because you're doing things. You're not just standing in front of people and singing and no one's clapping. There's such a good feeling with that. Yeah. But yes, I listened to all the videos. I should have just said that.
No, the story is so much better. So we have about 5 minutes left. If you have any last minute questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, again, if you think of any others, please email apply@youngarts.org or go on our website and look up Ask an Artist and see if you want to connect with a past winner.
That's really cool.
Oh, Sam fell off and he's back.
Okay, cool. Yay, technology. I think we have another question.
Yeah. If we're not sure whether one song falls into the musical theater category, which number 1 does not allow, could we email you to confirm?
How does that work, Deidre?
Well, you can email Young Arts to ask a question, but Young Arts cannot specifically comment on repertoire advice. We cannot give you repertoire advice. We could pass it along to Jason for an answer to that question, but Young Arts as a policy cannot comment on specific pieces because that is part of the the application process. You must make the selections for yourself that show your strengths, that show your voice, that show your story, and also following the requirements as closely as possible. So you can ask that question in an email, and if it is specific to repertoire, we would pass that along to Jason.
Yeah, I would write the Young Arts team and they would pass it on. I'm just going to assume, Manling, that your question probably applies to a musical theater piece that's also been done by opera companies. I get that, and if that's the case, I think that's a fair question. Send it to Young Arts, and we would do it on a case-by-case basis. it is safe to say, I feel it's okay to say this on here if they're going to write the question anyway. If it is a piece that has been done in an opera house like Sweeney Todd or Candide, it's probably okay. I think that's a good way to say it. I don't think Hamilton has been done by Lyric Opera of Chicago, so you're cool. That's going to be a no. But there are some pieces that have been done unamplified in operatic theaters, generally will fall into the okay category. We have allowed, for example, we have allowed Glitter and Be Gay. We have allowed Maria from West Side Story, that sort of stuff.
All right, how many of each voice type are finalists? Will there be a balanced amount of voice types like sopranos, mezzos, etc.? Oh, I got it.
Thanks, Aaron. There is no rule there. Young Arts would support me on this. If the lottery of luck came down to that I had 7 lyric sopranos and 1 countertenor, and they just happened to be the 8 top singers that year, that's what we're getting. The selections are made based on an artist's ability to meet the Young Arts standard, and there's no quota on voice type. We've just lucked out over the years to have a nice mix of things. And one year, actually, we had 2 countertenors as presidential scholars. That's never going to happen again, but that's the luck of the draw. But no, the Young Arts standard is what I look for. I don't think about balancing voice types or anything like that. No.
All right. I think we can wrap it up unless there's any others. We have about 2 minutes left. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Jason. If Sam came back, thank you, Sam. I don't know. I saw him in the waiting room and then I don't see him. But thank you all for joining and have a great rest of your night.
Good luck, everyone, and thank you for singing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.